Hi, this is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouses, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're using the Traeger grill here to make a keto-friendly dish. It's not low fat, so I want to preface that right off the bat. Today what we're going to be making is bacon cauliflower au gratin, and it's my own little spin on it. But like I said, it is keto friendly, so if you're on a keto diet, it will work as long as you're not worried about low fat. First thing that we're gonna do though is we're preheating the grill right now, and just started, just got it lit, so the smoke just cleared. First thing is that since we're gonna pre-cook the bacon a little bit because we don't want it too mushy in the dish, we're going to use the grill mat on here. Again, favorite thing, keeps the grills from getting all messy. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that we have our drip pan in, and because there's gonna be a lot of bacon grease to come off of this. I really like to do bacon in a grill of some sort because it really reduces the amount of mess in the house. And then I bought this bacon here at the store. I don't like buying packages. I like buying thick cuts. And if I can get it from a butcher or at the butcher counter at my local store, I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay that out. I almost always buy one extra piece. So we're gonna get this in there, and then we'll move on to the cauliflower. I like to start the bacon at a temperature that's not too hot, and the reason is that'll give the fat a chance to render off before it completely cooks. But I can hear the roar of the pellet grill. That's one of the things that somebody told me once, that they called it a roar when the pellet grill was working really good and burning really clean. So I'm just gonna go ahead and slide that in. I'm gonna try to get the bacon as close to the middle as possible. On this particular Traeger, it's hotter on this end, and so you wanna be a little careful with that so you don't burn your food. I will run it for a few minutes like this, get it started, and then I'll just twist the whole grill mat around. I won't have to play with the bacon. The idea is just to render it out a little bit. We don't want all that fat in our dish. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the cauliflower here. So this is a piece of raw cauliflower right here, and I'm going to show that to you up a little bit closer. And if you take a look here, you're going to see the picture. What I did was I took half of a large head of cauliflower and I par-cooked it. So usually you're going to cook that for 7 minutes in a broiler, or excuse me, a steamer. So you're going to boil the water and it's going to steam the cauliflower. You don't want the cauliflower in it or it loses flavor a little bit. But this is just a raw piece of the same size, which is great if you have ranch dip, or if you don't, oh well. Okay. So this is what it looks like after it's been par-cooked. I really love cauliflower, but it just lends itself to anything. And that's half of a large head. Now, this is a recipe for two. So if you're doing more than two people, if you're serving it as a side, this will be fine. But if you're serving it as a main, then you want to do a little bit more. And we're using bacon in here, but diced up leftover pork chop works really good also. Okay, so then the next thing we want to do is we want to go with some mushrooms. Now, I like mushrooms a lot. My recipe calls for 3 regular size white mushrooms or button mushrooms, and this is 4. So I just put in a little bit extra. No problem, you know, if you see something there and you decide that you want an extra piece for yourself. So I just eat whatever, so, you know, whenever I want. But we don't have any company coming over, so I don't have to worry about messing up the food. Okay, so that's in there like that. We're not gonna mix it yet. So for the sauce, what I have is half of a block of cream cheese in here. I'll see if I can get a little closer there. So there's half a block of cream cheese and then half of a cup of almond milk. You can use regular milk, or heavy cream is even better. I didn't have any heavy cream today, and I use some almond milk in my coffee every morning, so I figured I'd just use that instead of buying a container of cream. Then we have half a cup of cheddar cheese, and we'll need a little bit more for the top as a finish, and 1 tablespoon of garlic. So you'll notice that we're missing smoked paprika today, but I might add it when you're not looking. No, I'm not. I probably won't do that on this one. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break this cream cheese up, and this cream cheese did sit out on the counter for about an hour to get to room temperature. I want the cream cheese to be partially broken up so that way it's easier to mix everything in. Then I'll put the cheese and sprinkle the garlic in. I don't want the garlic to go in clumps because it'll be harder to mix out. So then I put the cheddar in, and then I'm going to spread the garlic around. So I'm trying to stay under the cover a little bit here today because it is raining pretty good. It's been off and on, and we have kind of a slowdown right now, so I thought I'd get this started while we have a break. So you never know when the sky is going to open up around here. So if you have the cream cheese and you smash it up against the side of the bowl, you'll be able to get it to mix in a little bit better. And it doesn't have to be perfect because this is going to end up being a chunky recipe. And if you decide that you want it a little bit wetter, or if you want to cook it at a lower temperature and not par cook your cauliflower, just add a couple tablespoons of water to it, and then that way it'll give the cauliflower some additional moisture, or more, you know, almond milk or whatever you're going to use. You can use milk in this too. There's no problem with that. I do it all the time. So it's not particularly thick. The more I mix it, the more the cream cheese will break in there. And that's almost enough there to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour half of this, and I'm just going to pour it lightly in here. So not all of it, just about half. So I just went a little more than half, and there's a little bit left in there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and work it in. And how much sauce you make is kind of a personal preference. One thing you want to consider is that the cauliflower is a little bit wet, so there will be a little bit of liquid when you pre-cook it that'll come out as you're baking. If it's really dry, then it will dry out while it's baking, and I found that I like it just a little bit on the softer side with crispy edges rather than dry at all. So now we've got it mixed in a little bit, but we don't want to break it down too much. You see any big pieces in there, because a lot of these big ones I quartered them up, then you can just go ahead and cut them with your spoon as you're mixing, because you don't want huge chunks in there either. Get a little uniform. Like that one's a little big, so we'll just come in between the florets there. So each little piece is a floret, is what that's called, I guess. Now, if it was just me eating, I would add pepper, or if your whole family likes pepper, I would probably add a sprinkle of pepper to it, maybe a half a tablespoon. But my wife is not a big pepper fan, and she likes salt, but salt in a lot of dishes can be added after, and you'll get the same effect, and same with pepper. Certain things that you need to have the salt in ahead of time, like baked goods and stuff like that, or candies, but a lot of the cooked foods like this, you can sprinkle it in. All right, so we're going to set this aside for a second, and then we'll just take a look at the bacon and see if she's ready to be rotated around. The smoker is only up to 295 degrees, and so that temperature is a little low. one thing that we have going on here is because it's so cold outside, that might be causing a little bit of an issue with the smoker temperature, and that's to be expected. Also, I put the bacon to one side of the grill mat, and the reason I did that was so I had a nice area to grab onto and move the grill mat around. If you kind of cover the whole thing, then you don't really have, like, and I'll just call it a handle, but you don't have a safe space to grab. The grill mat, without food on it, it doesn't get that hot. I mean, when you go to grab it, it initially, like, it'll still be warm, but it just won't feel that hot to touch. So now I'm gonna go ahead and close that back down, and we're gonna take a little break here while the bacon cooks, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and the bacon is almost done here. I moved the table around a little bit, so you might be able to see the bacon when I'm cutting it here. But the main reason is because, like I was saying, it's been off and on, and it was sprinkling when we started the video, but now it's pretty much just raining. So I'm gonna go ahead and move the knife, and then I'm gonna grab this. And so the thing is that we don't need the bacon completely done because, first of all, bacon is cured. But second of all, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be continuing to cook this some more. I just wanted to render out a good portion of the fat. And if you can see here, it is hot and translucent. Now, if you're a little particular about your bacon, you can definitely cook it more. My wife prefers hers a little bit more on the done side, and I personally like mine a little soft. I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna throw it back in here because that's gonna be my snack. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that for a minute. And then I'm gonna take this whole thing and I'm just gonna flip the whole thing over. So now this gold grill mat here is just gonna go right in the dishwasher when I'm done. And I'll just set it to the side for now. So we just wanna cut the bacon into some smaller pieces. It doesn't have to be particularly small. And so I'm gonna stack them up into threes, and I'm gonna 6 cut them. So when I do that, I start by cutting a little to the middle, a little bit towards the fat side. So there's always a thicker side on the bacon, and then I'll cut 3 equal pieces there and make it kind of easier to see. And then you can. The edges are always a little bit more done. You can see that right there, and that's pretty good. I'll bring one of these pieces up to the camera so you can get a good idea what it looks like. Try to get a little light on it there. But it's just barely done, and that's kind of what we want to go with. And I want them on the larger size. I don't want them too small. That doesn't mean I can't vary some of the sizes on some of them. All right, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and with the spoon in my hand, I'm gonna kind of mix this bacon in just a little bit. Same thing, I don't wanna crush this, so I wanna just kind of lightly, almost a toss, if you will. I'm trying to mix in the bacon without getting it all touching each other, so that way it's kind of spread out throughout the dish. And I'll show you here in a second. And then I'm going to push it down and away from the edges. I really don't want the dish to be like tight up against the edges. It tends to get a little burned around the edges over time. I'll bring this up to the camera and show it to you real quick. And I know it looks kind of messy. I don't normally use a glass pan. I did today for two reasons. One reason is I wanted you to see it, and the other reason is that the foil pans that I had, they're a little bit either a little too small or a little too big, and I would go too small for myself if I wasn't doing the video and be fine with that and have it kind of packing over. But because I'm doing the video, I want it to be a little bit closer to the right size pan. And you can see there, got it all out there, and then I'm just gonna do that. Get as much of that cheese out of there. And at the end of the process, we'll add another 2 tablespoons of cheese. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this and get my bacon out of there. I was gonna flip it real quick. Now, if you were gonna go for a little bit more done, that's probably about how the minimum or the maximum you'd wanna go. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in there. And then we're gonna watch the temperature for a few minutes and see where she ends up. Because it is cold outside, the smoker is probably running, the pellet smoker is probably running at full power. And so it'll only get so hot with the temperature outdoors like this. Every time I close the smoker lid, I check the pellets. I've got about 45 minutes worth of pellets in here. And after you run your smoker long enough, you'll figure it out. I recommend that you run your smoker on full power for a while, you know, on a regular basis, and figure out how much pellets it uses. You can cook something like hamburgers or something easy on it, and then when you're running at full power, you can get a real good idea of how many pellets it takes for how long. So it's like, oh yeah, that much is an hour. Well, that much is 45 minutes at the most there. So I'll go ahead and close that now and come back to that in a few minutes. Trying to get an idea where the temperature is going to settle. I've got it set on 375, but like I said, because of the outdoor temperature, that's probably going to be a little bit of a struggle for the Traeger Pellet Grill of this size. It'll probably level out right at 350, which is actually the temperature that I'd like it to be at. But I would rather get it a little above and make sure that it stays on the entire time. So if it gets right up to 350 and then it turns off, then it's going to drop all the way back down to 320, and I don't want that. So this temperature, if it gets up to 350, we're probably looking at about 45 minutes to do the dish. If it's a little bit lower, then we just add a little bit of time. That's fine. We just want to make sure it's hot enough to get that little crisp around the edges. And then if it doesn't get hot enough for that, we can just put it underneath the broiler for a couple of minutes in our oven in the house, and that'll finish it off, and we'll still get all that wonderful smoked taste. So we'll be back in a little bit here to check on this, and I'm going to eat my bacon. Well, it's pouring out here, and the clouds are thick and dark, and it looks like it got dark sooner than I planned. So we're going to put in more lights next time we film a video, but for today we're just going to kind of run it roughshod here and do what we can. This is the cheese that I use. It's just a bag of pre-shredded sharp cheddar cheese. If you are doing keto, don't use this. Shred your own. And the reason is because it usually has cornstarch in it, and you don't want to add cornstarch to your diet. So I'm going to put a little bit more than 2 tablespoons of cheese on here. I'm just sprinkling it on to give it the finish I want. And it looks really nice. It's bubbling around the edges. The smoker got up to the temperature that I was hoping, which is just a little above 250. So it was running or a little above 350. Excuse me, it was running a little bit more than that, and it looks like that I just ran out of pellets. So I said there was 45 minutes out of pellets in there, and it's been 45 minutes. Okay, so I spread the cheese around evenly, and let me pop a little picture of that really quick so that way you can take a look at that when you get a chance. That picture turned out good, so that picture's right up there. And then I'm going to go ahead and close this down. Yeah, the pellets didn't feed, that's what happened there. So I'm going to kick that down. Get it to restart really quick. And then it'll get it to finish. It needs about 15 minutes for that cheese to do what we want. And I'm gonna watch this for a few minutes here, but I'll see you in about 15 minutes on my time and right after the flash on this one. So, all right, well, here we go. We are done now. So I went ahead and I want to show you this. See if you can see it while it's still bubbling. Well, probably not. The lighting is definitely an issue, but it is dark out here, so it's bubbling around all the edges. All the juice is kind of settled down. I'm gonna set this off to the side. And actually, I'm gonna set it right here because it seems that the camera is still getting good pictures, and then you can see what it looks like. All right, check that picture out there. Now that is a good looking dish, and like I said, it is keto friendly, so it is going to be great. So check it out, and when I get a chance, I'll attach a recipe to it so that way you'll be able to make that at home too. So I hope you enjoyed the video. The affiliate links for the products that I used are below, so if you buy anything, I will be compensated, and I appreciate it. Have a great day.